Making a Ryder Cup team is one of those things that really separates you from a lot of other players. I played 3 singles matches and never made a bogey. I felt an amazing amount of pride being able to wear the uniform.
He made great contact, Johnny, and I think it's right at it. What a shot.
Boy, that's a shot of his career right there. That was one heck of a shot.
The 36-year-old Ryder Cup rookie from Minnesota, Tom Lehman. Here's the cheers from the partisan U.S. fans here at Oak Hill.
Yeah, my first Ryder Cup was '95, and I played really well to earn a spot on the team. I finished very high on the point list, so it felt like I very much had earned my way and deserved to be there. And you get there and you look around, my first Ryder Cup, oh, there's Seve over there and there's Faldo, and boy, do I really belong here? And my coach was like, oh yeah, you do. Look, you finished second in the points, you definitely belong here. You belong here more, just as much as anybody else, if not more. And being in the locker room, putting my shoes on and looking outside and seeing all the people, and they're already chanting and singing and doing whatever, and being nervous just to go play a practice round. Like, I'd never been nervous for a practice round in my life. And the significance of the event, it was pretty overwhelming. It took a little bit of self-talk to kind of get myself, kind of calmed down and put together and ready to play that week. I played with Corey Pavin in my very first match. We were the first match off, and we were playing Montgomery and Faldo. Arguably their very best team. And I was the first guy to hit. We were playing alternate shot, and I was teeing off on odd holes, so I was the first person to tee off in that Ryder Cup. And I never forget walking on the tee, and Byron Nelson was on the tee. He was kind of greeting guys on the tee, and so not only we're in the Ryder Cup, now we've got Mr. Nelson, right here on the tee. And sometimes when you have the adrenaline going and you're all nervous and you're pumped up, you can hit the ball pretty far. And that first hole, which is like a 450 par 4, I hit a 3-wood off the tee just to make sure I could draw it. So I hit that 3-wood about 320.
And the 31st Ryder Cup matches are underway.
When I was just starting out on the tour, I set 5 goals out for myself that I wanted to achieve, and one of them was to make a Ryder Cup team. I always felt like to be a part of a Ryder Cup team would be like part of being on the Olympic team. You're the elite of the elite. You've earned your way onto that team. You're playing in a historic event with tons of tradition, such a meaningful event, and to be a part of that group of people who's earned the spot, to be a part of that, was a real feather in anybody's cap. Making a Ryder Cup team is one of those things that really separates you from a lot of other players. I felt an amazing amount of pride being able to wear the uniform.
That's got to get out.
Get down it did. That'll work for openers.
I must have teed off and he must have missed the green and I chipped it in. I pulled a tiger on the first green, and I always remember Fred Couples telling me it's just that extra little fist pump can really get the crowd wound up. It definitely gets reactions, and so that chip went in. It was a big old Tiger-esque type fist pump, and away we went.
After 2 good shots front of the green, uphill putt. Wow.
I think that was a 13th hole against Lee Westwood, and I made that putt to go 4 up. And it was just from the front of the green, about 30 feet. And, just had this beautiful read on it. I saw the line the whole way. It looked great the whole way. It tracked, and it went right in the center of the cup. And I actually went running across the green, and I didn't stop running until I got to the next tee. I ran all the way from that spot all the way to the next tee, high-fiving everybody in the crowd along the way. And at that point, it was like the big roar over there and the big roar over there. And then I made this putt with the big roar there. And it's just there's so much emotion on the golf course that day. And when that putt went in, the crowd just went ballistic. I played 3 singles matches and never made a bogey. I played 3 in a row, won 3 matches, never made a bogey. And I don't know how many greens I missed, but it wasn't very many. So in every singles match that I played, it was kind of that way. Hit nearly every fairway, hit nearly every green, made a few more putts at Brookline, but it's just, it was vintage match play where, the essence of match play is not that the other guy doesn't do a good thing now and then, it's that you never give him anything. It's like you make him earn every single thing. And the way I played that day was that. I just played so steady, and even though he won a hole, he made a birdie on 15, he had to earn it, and I never gave him any breathing room. And I've had that, guys do that to me. I know what it feels like. It's like, there's nothing I can do. I mean, The guy's just playing too well, and that was the way it went that day for me. I think nerves properly used turns into intense focus. So I was so focused. I know that I would say to myself, why can't I play like this every week? But I think the nerves of the Ryder Cup just led to just this intense amount of focus, and is finding a way in the intense moment to just execute and play the game. And look, you see it all the time in sports when guys get in that zone. They do heroic things and amazing things under intense pressure. And that's how they do it. You develop a routine, so no matter how nervous you might be thinking about the shot coming up ahead, once you kind of get into the shot and you pick out the club, you figure the wind out and the yardage, and then you go into your routine, that all those nerves, they become background noise, and you're focused on the shot at hand. And I've always felt like having a really good pre-shot routine is the very best way to nerve-proof your golf swing when things get pretty tight.
Now Tom Lehman here in the last 4 or 5 holes making some big shots.
Whenever I hit a shot playing for myself, I never feel like I'm letting anybody down but myself when I hit a bad one. In a team thing, when other people are suffering the consequences of either bad shots or they're able to enjoy the consequences of a great shot, those are more difficult. Knowing that you have other people depending upon you and that you don't want to let them down. Those are the added elements of the Ryder Cup that are so difficult to overcome. Once you get beyond that, you're good. But if you let that get to you, it's really, really difficult.
I'm gonna leave y'all with one thought and I'm gonna leave. I'm a big believer in fate. I have a good feeling about this. That's all I'm gonna tell you.
Well, he doesn't waste words. He comes from a place of, I really know this for a fact. This course has been good to Americans. I didn't tell you why. So it wasn't just he was pulling something out of his back pocket. It was like he had an idea and he had a reason for the idea. And then he would apply it to this team. He's never been one to be a BSer. When he opens his mouth and says something, it's always significant and you always pay attention, because no matter what the situation, he always has something really good to say. And he had a lot of good things to say that week, but just understanding what guys need, I think knowing what individuals need, he has an intuition for that. And not everybody has that. He certainly did. I, number one, was just floored and shocked that we were so far behind. I thought we had such a great team and so much better than the European team. I didn't think it was even close that year. I thought our team was significantly better than they were. And to be behind was mind-blowing to me. Ben is one of those kind of mystical guys so when he says things, you kind of pay attention. And when he said, that he has a good feeling about this, he said, look, at the 17th hole, it's always been very good to Americans. Brookline's always been very good to Americans. And I didn't doubt him one bit, and I didn't feel like there was anything that he was saying that wasn't true. And whether we could come all the way back or not, I didn't know, but I had no doubt in my mind that we were going to have a great Sunday and we were going to make a game of it. And so when he put me out first, obviously I felt some pressure. I know that if the first guy out loses, that makes the day a lot tougher. So I was definitely nervous, but Ben had a way about saying things and doing things, and I never forget, as long as I live. I was in the locker room stretching, and he walked up and he put his hand on my heart, just put it right there, and he said, do you know why I put you out first today? And he goes, I put you out first because you're the toughest guy I know. Whether he meant it or not, it didn't matter. There's a lot of tough guys on that team. Pretty hard to say Hal Sutton wasn't a tough guy, and the Tiger's not a tough guy, but for him to say that, he knew exactly, I think what I needed to hear that morning, and what he told me was, hey, you're tough enough to do this. That made a big impact on me. It was a huge encouragement, something I'll never forget and something that I really appreciated.
This looks good. Oh my!
Yeah, and that's a whole story in itself. Justin even having a chance to win that match is remarkable. I think there's this element of momentum that you only get when you're just laying it on the other guy so badly that it's not even close. And that's what happened that day. It's like it'd be one thing for the first bunch of guys to be, one up, which means it's still a pretty tight match, but when it's, 3 up, 4 up, 5 up, 4 up, 5 up, 6 up, that's what it was. The first 6 matches or so, it was just everybody was just hammering their guys. I was 4 up on Westwood through 14, and the guys behind me were equally as good. They were just killing everybody. And I think that kind of momentum, it was just the other team was just in the corner just getting pummeled, and they can't do anything about it. And that's exactly what the U.S. team did that day. And except for Justin was back there struggling. And to me, one of the great things of all time is Ben telling Davis, hey, you need to go cheer up your buddy. He's really down in the dumps. the way Davis goes, and so we eventually filtered back to kind of catch, the last 3 or 4 holes. And now at this point, Justin's made a comeback. Jose Maria's hit a few bad shots. Justin's made a few birdies, and before you know it, it's a match again. Now they're tied going into 17, and we all have seen 17. And to me, it's like one of the most emotional moments in the history of golf for me. Like there's a lot of great things that have happened, but when that putt went in on 17, I would dare anybody to not react in some way, after everything we've been through all week long, and having such a great team and being so far behind and then making this huge comeback, and the emotion of the crowd and the emotion of the team, it was just impossible to not react to that.
Justin Leonard's long bomb gets them to 14 and a half.
So I saw this shirt and I thought it was a really cool idea. Like all the winning teams are on this shirt. This is a neat shirt. Never once thought for a second that, hey, maybe, just maybe, it's really ugly, but as it turns out, it might have been, it might have been a fairly ugly shirt, but it was an iconic shirt. It was our shirt, but I think the shirt, accomplished its purpose. Every time Ben did something, there was a reason for it. There was a story behind it. This is every winning team is on this shirt. We're going to go put ours on it tomorrow. I thought it was a really cool idea. I'm constantly reminded that in the most intense moments when things aren't going great, it's easy for even the best guys to forget about really how great they are. These great players, struggling with their games in a really, really big moment. Sometimes all you have to do is just remind them of who they are. And I remember in the singles match, and you don't ever know whether things impact in a positive way or not, but Phil was unhappy with his game. He was struggling with his game. And I said, just look at this. How many chances are you ever going to have to do this again? Look at this. Like this, if there's ever a moment made for you, this is it. So forget about that swing stuff and just play. Just be you. Look, just, show the crowd something, show off a little bit. Just go out and have fun and give them something to cheer about. And he hit it in there about 45 feet and then made it for a 3, and he went off to the races he went, and he ended up winning his match. And you don't know as an assistant whether it goes in one ear or out the other. This was made for him, and you just want to remind guys, like, look at this, you're one of the best of all time. Just go show it. Go show off a little bit. This is the place you ought to be. So that would be my message to every first-year guy is, look around, see who's here, and then go, I belong right here. Maybe you feel like an imposter, I guess, right? Because am I really this good? And so I always come down with the answer is, well, yes, you are this good, because otherwise you wouldn't be here. Yes, you are this good, or else you wouldn't have won the Masters. Yes, you are this good, or you wouldn't have been Player of the Year. Yes, you are this good, or you wouldn't have been ranked #1. I mean, it's like, whatever the thing is like, of course you're this good. And that's why I go back to talking about reminding people about who they are. I think that's back to Ben and really good captains. I remember telling Tiger one time when I was the captain, like, hey, just in case you forgot, I just want to tell you who you are. You may be the best player in the history of the game, so don't forget that. Okay, and he's like, oh, thanks. He wasn't playing well, and I just felt like he needed a reminder, from my experience, of who he really is. And I wouldn't say he probably even remembered that. But when you see a guy struggle, and he's the best player ever, maybe, it's like, tell him, hey, look, you're the best player ever. There's nobody who's ever played the game better than you, so stop playing like, you're number 100 in the world. Be you. Just play like you.